Good morning, everybody. It's Tattooed in Business. I am your host, Brian Merrill, and this is Life and Business Through the Eyes of a Gen X male who happens to be in corporate sales for over 20 years and just trying to get through another business venture and hopefully help you from making the same mistakes and fall in the same pitfalls that I have over the years and share some of my education and wisdom from what I've learned from myself being in business and other people around me. So today being a very holy day for most people, Easter Sunday, I also wanted to point out that last night was a full moon as well. So right now in the springtime, it's really a time to uh, be reborn, and reinvent yourself and cleanse off all the negative and all the everything that just that comes with the winter. You got a fresh start. Everything's regrowing. Everything's looking great. Everything's feeling. And then of course this is the you know day of resurrection, as most people, most Christians will point out to you. So I thought this was a good time to go back to one of the first episodes I've ever done and talk about kind of my story and what happened in my life to get me to where I'm at. And one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting fired from my job. And just based on conversations this week, things that have happened, people meeting and stuff, I realized that this is probably a good time to share my story again for those people who haven't ever heard it. We talk about always, as you grow with listeners and viewers and whatnot, that you definitely want to look back at some of your past things that you've done and relaunch them, so to say. So and this is going to sound funny to everybody, but I'm in a women's business owners group or women-owned businesses, and kind of one of the reasons why I joined this happens to do with my past story here. So when I when I went through my divorce, I have a daughter who's my oldest, and I have a younger son, and my daughter didn't speak to me for 6 years. My daughter's a very strong-willed, very intelligent, go-getter type of person, and what she struggles with is like a lot of people do, is just stressing out over things and having a negative thought, but she always fights through these things. So when we got the divorce, she stopped talking to me, and it was a very devastating time for me, and it led to a lot of things in my life of changing and just trying to find myself, reinventing myself. So I was at the time I had just taken a job in construction sales, so really good opportunity for me, and literally within I think it was 60 days max, I'm going through a divorce. And it was very stressful. I had a great boss who was able to work with me and stuff. And after 2.5 years, I was struggling, and I was just in and out of court constantly, just totally in and out of court constantly. And to the point where I knew it was a distraction. I knew this was coming. You feel like there's days that I don't even know how I sold anything at all, just based on it. And one day I get the call. Like literally, this happened within 3 days of each other. So I find out. So I'm going back to court because my daughter is going into her senior year, and she doesn't want dad to have custody or whatever reason. And so I had to make a real hard decision. I did it for my daughter because this is what she was asking for. So I relinquished it going into her junior year. And that was one of the stupidest and hardest decisions I ever made. But I thought I was doing it because that's what she wanted. And then the next day, I literally walked into work and got fired. And the irony of it was, they said that, well, it's a performance thing. And we had these stupid score sheets, and you can see where you ranked against other people. Uh, let's just say that wasn't even close to being on the bottom. And in all honesty, I was going to exceed. I would have exceeded my goal for the year. However, the next news they dropped on me was they were making my biggest account a house account. So they were making a lot of changes and whatnot. But the reality is, I was distracted. I was going through a hard time. It was very hard to stay focused on my job. So I could understand where the company came from. I just didn't like the new sales manager. My branch manager, freaking awesome, but the sales manager just honestly doesn't have a clue, and he wound up getting fired not too much longer, and kind of knew that was coming. You can only fake things so much. But so I got let go, and for the first time in my life, I had no idea what's going on and what I'm going to do. So I had a pretty big nest egg in the bank. I'm not gonna lie, and I took my time trying to figure out what I want to do, and I wound up going right back. Well, one, I went partners in a bar, and then I wound up going back into the same field, construction, because that's what I knew. Um, I knew I wasn't happy. I knew I wasn't happy there, and there was an opportunity for me to change careers, and not knowing where it was going to pay and whatnot, I gambled and I went after it, and it's where I'm at today. As far as same industry, of course, in that time period, finding this happiness kind of came about me. So over the next year, you think all these things are going wrong, but they're actually going right. So I wound up getting out of the bar, and wound up, my daughter winds up, I meet somebody who uh, was really good timing for both of us. And we really, were able to have fun and forget about things and that were negative in our lives, and kind of uh, had a very, we had a really strong relationship built off each other, and the support was unbelievable. My daughter comes back into my life, which we start talking again, which was huge for me. Not a lot, a little bit. My son is, there. I've been spending time with my son, and then everything seems to be going great. Like everything's going back on track, and then all of a sudden I get the call, and somebody made something up, and I guess, it's crazy about how, people just are insecure, and I wound up getting let go from this job. And when I got let go from this job, my mindset was like, no, not like the last time. I wasn't defeated this time. I wasn't down and out this time. I wasn't in a bad place. I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I'll be damned if I was going to let some jackass tell me that I wasn't right for his company. So I think I took like probably 48 hours, week off, went right back in the same industry, helped another company start up their division, and I've stayed in the industry ever since. I absolutely love being in promotional products and apparel. One of the biggest thing that drives me insane is people that get into it that don't respect the industry, and they try not to respect the industry. This industry can be a lot of fun, and you need to understand that it is a form of advertising to get people used to your name, logo, and brand and everything, but it's a fun type one. It's not something that somebody needs every single day of their life to control their business or to function in business. This is something that people use to truly build their brand and build their image, and show appreciation to their customers, employees, and whatnot. So I really love this industry. And had I not been fired, I would have never got to this point. So it, the powerful part was, something changed in my life where I became more self-aware of who I was, what I wanted, what I didn't want. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I took a huge pay cut when I went into this. And even to this day, I'm making half of what I was making. And, and the construction field is great, and it's a lot of fun, and when working with guys is awesome, but I wasn't into it. It just wasn't, it wasn't in my soul, so to say. And there's other guys that it totally is, and they totally like relish it when they go. But for me, it wasn't. I really found my calling and what I like doing, what I'm doing now, and because of finding that and finding that happiness and everything, drove me to where I am. So rewind a little bit. So my daughter's back in my life. Things are going good, and I'm ready to make the next step with this person I'm dating. And then I get the news that my ex-wife is in a coma, and my daughter now needs me, like truly needs me. So I go to the hospital with my son, and my ex-wife winds up passing away. And no matter how bad you think your divorce is, or your breakup is, and how much you think you may hate somebody, when you're sitting there and you have to be the one that makes a decision whether to turn off that life support switch or not, and it's being put on you as the ex because nobody else wants to deal with it, it's not an easy decision, and it's hard. And you flash back of all the great things that happened, and it it really hit, it hit me hard. And I went through after that a series of several people dying on me, 8 people in 10 months, and it just really just crushed me. But in this being crushed, I'm also finding the resilience to get up every day, to get through my day, to all of a sudden be dad again to my daughter, who's not, 14, 15 years old anymore, who's now, you know, 20 years old. And it just, plus my son who has been living with me the whole time, it just all of a sudden I had to take every bit of hate, every bit of ounce of negativity, anything my daughter needed to say and do to me, I had to take it. And I fought a little bit, and then when I stopped fighting and just realized that we had to get to that point to get to that healing, to get to that place where we could move forward in life. And as we're moving forward in life, I go back to why I bring this up is now I'm in this women business group. And one of the biggest reasons why is I realize that there's certain things I can't and will never be able to be to my daughter growing up. Um, there's certain things that she feels she can't talk to me about. There's certain things that she, would struggle talking with me about. But I also want my daughter to see that it's okay to be strong woman. It's okay to go for whatever the dream it is you want, and regardless whether it's what was picked out for you, mapped for you, whatever. And I decided to go and be in this group after a friend of mine asked me to be in it, because I looked at this as this is a way that I could hopefully inspire my daughter or show my daughter, you know, how to be empowered, how to be supportive, and that not every male in this world is trying to block them. What I have realized from over the years, being in networking groups and whatnot, talking to a very good friend of mine, Erin Lubian, she runs a networking group called Badass Women in Business out of Boston, Massachusetts. She's also in Success Champion Network, like I am. She's the head of the Badass Bostonians. And when I met with her for the first time, I kept telling her, she told her my whole story. She knows my story. And I asked her, why do women feel like they're being put down by men? She goes, it's not men. She said, it's other women. She goes, women put other women, they hold women back in business. And I said, well, yeah, I've seen that, but I haven't. She's like, no, that's what it's about. It's about not holding each other back and being supportive. And I'm like, okay. Light bulb kind of goes off in my head. And, it's just like anything else. I've shared with everyone in the group, or watches this by some of my experiences with doing networking groups, being bashed at meetings, being because of my gender, being a man. And I always say this, you think it's hard to start up a business, try being a white male in America. And I don't mean to sound down, but like we qualify for nothing, man. We don't get any consideration on loans or whatnot. There's nothing to steer business our way. We you got to go make it on your own, so to say. And I don't mean if you're a minority or a women owned or anything like that you don't either. I'm just telling you that we don't have special loans and programs for us. You know, I am a veteran, and the money that it costs to be veteran certified doesn't even come close to weighing what your return on investment can be unless you want to go after government contracts, and I don't. So going through all this and kind of, this is obviously the very condensed version of my story and where I'm at. Had I not been fired, I probably wouldn't have ever found my true calling and what it is that I like to do and want to do. And in a perfect world, I want to be partners in several different businesses and help them grow and flourish and help people on their way. And I always say this, one of my dreams is to open up an ESOP business where employees own it and they can truly feel empowered by it. And, you know, I keep thinking and going through all these things as we're starting the new venture, and we're up and running, and we haven't even done very much marketing and advertising. and the floodgates are really about to open, and we're getting all of our process of procedures in order so that we can handle it. That being said, you're going to have people come and go, and none of us ever want that. But sometimes when you put somebody in a situation where they need to perform, or they're not going to be there, you may find where their true calling and their true fit is. I know that when it wasn't about, can Brian do sales? I have a track record of doing sales. It's not. It was all about my mindset and my mind frame. So I'm really big, as everyone knows here. I talk about your self awareness, being self aware. Obviously, I wasn't very self aware at the time. I became self aware of where I was at in my life, how people were perceiving me, and how things go after all these things happened to me. So it's not like I've paid for 20 years of been self aware. I've only been self aware for probably the last 3 years. I mean, in all honesty, uh, I mean, when I truly started becoming self aware was the death of my ex wife. And then when my uncle passed away. And then when I had this great guy that we started doing these Facebook Lives with, say, Brian, this is what you need to do. We need to start getting back. I need you back helping me. And I literally said, yeah, okay, so next week we're going to shoot and I'll be back on with you. And he died on the 4th of July. We never made it to that next date. And I buried myself again. And I kept saying to myself, this is not who you are. This is not what you want to be. This is not the example you want to set for your daughter, for your son. This is not who you want to be. You want to show them that they can do anything they want. They just got to fight, and how to fight, and how to pull yourself out of it. And to try to, you know, have people not see how sad you are, to see you cry, to see you break down. I mean, that's ultimately what left, why the other person that I was seeing left. I became so self absorbed with my depression and all this that she just said, you know what, this ain't for me. Sorry, I love you, but can't be. So love you, can't be with you, and moved on. And that devastated me. And like all this stuff, like it's just compound. But in that dark time, I found how to fight again. I found myself. I found the the ability to not give a fuck anymore and keep going forward and not think about the outcome constantly and focus on listening and delivering. And if you win, you win. And if you lose, you lose. There's only two outcomes to everything in life you do. You either win or you lose, or you get it or you don't. Yes or no. I mean, everything you do. And once you take that mindset and you're able to channel that, find your passion, find your goal, find whatever it is that's going to motivate you to get to that next level, or inspire somebody else, then that's powerful. And that's, I mean, it's just empowering. And this, just this last week, had a conversation. I mean, and there's always negative people in every group. Don't ever take this wrong. That, and everyone's not always negative every day. People, let's face it, we're human. We have good and bad days. Self awareness is will help you with that. So when you're sitting in a group and you're having a bad day or whatever, and I've been there, I've done this. So don't think that he is who without sin cast the first stone, by all means. But I've sat there and had got out of court, a rotten freaking mood, and coming in and running my mouth, talking to somebody, and you think this person is listening to you and venting or whatever. Reality is you need to bury that shit, because you need to find that self-awareness immediately, because that's going to affect you with that person, your relationship with them, business, everything. They are building a perception of you. And if they want to move forward with you as a friend, as a business partner, as a vendor, everything, all that self-awareness pulls in. So when you go into a group meeting and you're going to spend time bashing on something or being negative about something, or send a group email that's negative, or bitching about this or bitching about that, take a look at who's in that thread. Take a look at who you're doing, because you are telling people in that thread, here's my attitude, here's my this, and whether you want to believe it or not, everybody in those threads are at that moment in time are thinking, if this is somebody I want to associate with, partner with, do business with, be around. And think about it. when you're looking at your Facebook feeds and all that, and someone puts something negative on, we all do the same thing. Self awareness is huge. The self awareness, I beat it like it's going out of style. But reality is your self awareness to you, who you are, and what situation you're in, is what is going to lead you to success or failure. So having these tools to be able to do that will help you in your business. Finding where you are in your business, being self aware of where you're at, what needs to happen, is difficult at times, and that's why you got to have other people in there. I love it because this week we were going to do a meet the team thing, and I wanted to start bringing on the people that I work with. I'm always talking about the team of people I work with and how much I love working with them and everything. Um, and just timing wasn't right because of the holiday and stuff. But reality is this is what it's all about. Finding the chemistry, finding the mesh. And unfortunately, you may go through people, and that sucks because nobody ever wants to do that. But I'll be damned if I ever want to hold anybody back from finding their passion, their dreams, and finding their why. To steal from Simon Sinek, um, because that's what it took for me to find what it is that I like. And I tell this to you. And if you're in an industry and they let you go or whatever for whatever reason, and you sit there and say, "No, I like being a," don't quit. Use that fuel. That's what I did. I took a guy who runs a $20 million company and left, and I learned how full of shit he was about being in the industry within the first 6 months with somebody that him and I were learning it as we were going together and building something, trying to build something. I mean, we went separate ways with different visions of, well, actually their vision of where they want to go is perfect for them. I just didn't feel I was a fit in it. But man, what a difference. What a difference being self aware and being able to get to that point where knowing what you truly want will take you. And I still go back. The best thing you ever do is get fired sometimes. I mean, it worked for me. Now, I'm not, now, by no means am I telling anyone to go out there and quit your job or do something to be fired. I had a nest egg. Keep that in mind. I had a little nest egg that bought me some time, and I did a lot of self reflection and healing. And I also did a lot of bad things in that period too. That's where I learned a lot of the mistakes that I made and how to correct them moving forward. So it's not an easy decisions to do something like that, but truly, especially right now, guys, people are hiring. It's hard to find good people to work. I don't know why it is right now, but it's hard for employers out there to find people. And wages are up for the most part. Know your worth, know your value. Don't be arrogant about it, but know your worth, know your value, and by all means, take what you can when you can take it, and ask for what you deserve. You'll be amazed. And if someone doesn't give it to you, there'll be somebody else. There'll be someone down the line. But you have to find that self awareness, that love of yourself, that love of and passion of your industry, and that will come off in everything you do. When I go into a meeting, most of the time I've already know that I'm getting the sale. Because by the time I walk into that face to face meeting, I'm very passionate what I'm about. Now, there's always price issues. I get that. But most of the time, price only comes down when somebody from an outside factor who've never met me, never been involved, gets in there and starts questioning stuff. That's the only time it comes up. And then, you know what, guys? And here's the other thing: don't be the best price. Don't be the lowest. Be what you deserve and what you should make. That's reality. Quick little story, then I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. But so when I got in this industry, I was my former partner and told me, "Brian, you got to go hear this guy talk." His name is Cliff Quicksell, and that's his real last name. And we talked about he does this whole thing where he talks about how he gets a higher percentage when he sells his stuff versus other people. And the reason why is because what he brings to the table. Maps, and I won't reveal it all for him because he has a book as well. But so later, and this is a true fucking story. Later that, so I just start talking to him. We wind up, I don't know, we've gone to lunch together a few times. We've conferenced each other a few times. Like we've stayed in contact. So this true story. So him and I are sitting at a table at a conference, and we're just talking and like bullshitting. And this lady comes up, arrogant as can be. and she's from one of the buying groups that I'm in. And she says, wants to know how much I do in business and wants to know how much he does in business and the whole nine yards. So she goes up to him. She says, well, I do $1.2 million myself. He goes, oh, that's awesome. She goes, well, what did you do last year, Cliff? He said, I did around like 900,000. She goes, so he goes, well, he goes, yeah, that's great. He goes, what was your percentage? What was your percent of margin that you made on? She goes, I ran around 35%, 37%. He goes, oh. She goes, why? He goes, I averaged 55%. He goes, Brian, what did you do last year? He said, I did 45%. I said, so is it better to make 900,000 at 55% gross profit, or is it better to make 1.2 million at 35%? I mean, that's the point he's trying to make. But you have to yield value, and once you hear him speak and read his book, it goes into all that. Basically, take yourself from being a commodity and be a resource. So, on that note, I just want to tell everyone thank you for tuning in. Tattooed in Business, especially on our off time today. I didn't want to do it last night. Thank you, everyone, for following. Hey, if there's anybody out there that you think can benefit from this, please share this, share this, tell them about it, tell them to check me out. My podcast is on Podbean called Tattooed in Business. The YouTube channel is Tattooed in Business. And of course, my email is the same thing. tattooedinbusiness@gmail.com. My name is Brian Merrill, and I hope everyone has a happy Easter and a great Sunday. And everyone, please take care. All right?